What's up, guys? This is Lex, and today I'll be reading my UC essays. These essays got me into UC Merced, UC Riverside, UC Santa Cruz, UC Berkeley, and UCLA. And hopefully, at the very end, I'll be able to give you some tips on how to make this whole college transfer application process easier. So as opposed to most schools that use the Common App to apply, the UC system actually has its own application. You get 8 prompts and you only need to choose 4 out of the 8 prompts to answer with a 350 word limit total. So you don't get a lot of space to explain and write a detailed essay, but this is where it matters when it comes to what you say in your essays and how to highlight your strengths and convince the admissions officers that you want to be at their school. So before I read my essays, I just want to make a quick disclaimer. The essays are only one component of your application. I will say that I definitely believe they can make or break you, but I don't want others to stress out too hard on making these essays because I think I definitely overwhelmed myself when I remember the process of making sure the essays are perfect and right. So with that said, I'll be reading them and afterwards sharing my advice and tips for you. So the first essay prompt says the following. Don't mind if I look down since I'm reading directly from my laptop. Please describe how you have prepared for your intended major, including your readiness to succeed in your upper division courses once you enroll at the university. I was 8 years old when the school counselors told my parents that my brother was autistic. They said his brain was special, but I didn't understand why he wasn't considered normal. What specific thoughts did he have that made him different? This was how my initial interest in psychology and philosophy first started. Outside of successfully passing various honors level psychology and philosophy courses, I work as a tutor for both disciplines for my college. As a tutor, one of the key concepts I instill is a psychological concept called the growth mindset. If one believes that they have the capability to improve, then they can, because intelligence isn't fixed. With grit and persistence, anyone can successfully achieve their goals. This mindset has worked successfully with all of my tutees. It's one of the key concepts that's been integral to my own academic success that will help me overcome challenges I may face in my upper division courses. Tutees range from diverse backgrounds. Some are younger, some are older, and some have learning impairments. Because of this, I've adapted to various learning styles to help students better comprehend the material. By drawing visual aids on the whiteboard, such as charts, to having deaf interpreters help me translate information to my tutees, my experiences have helped me develop greater compassion and patience in my tutoring, all of which will help me be prepared for group work with others. Beyond this, my experiences have helped in developing study methods that work best for me. I'm now better able to understand my brother and others like him who think and learn differently. Many topics within philosophy and psychology make assumptions about how people think and interact. I believe that by bridging the gap between both fields, we can better understand the world around us. We can better help ourselves and others. By having a growth mindset and utilizing various learning styles to help me understand how others think, I'm more prepared to not only take on upper division courses, but I'm ready to work with a variety of other people in my path toward becoming a clinical psychologist. So as you've heard and listened, I talked about both psychology and philosophy, and that's something that's really important to do when you are choosing your second major. You also want to talk about why you would choose that as, your backup major if you don't get into the first choice pick. So finding a way to write about the overlap helps you a lot, because you also need to keep the 350 word limit in mind. It might sound like that's a lot, but it's really not. I found myself struggling with cutting down and making sure I met the word limit. But it's also important that you directly answer the prompt's question. So if you noticed, I kept reiterating that, because of this is why I'm more prepared for when I take the upper division courses at said university. This UC application goes out to however many UCs you select to apply to. So it's definitely going to look bad if you single out UC Berkeley, for example, in your essay, and UCLA or UC Davis is reading it. So definitely avoid that and stick to just saying, if anything, the University of California, since that's what we all are under anyways. All right, here is prompt 2. Describe an example of your leadership experience in which you've positively influenced others, helped resolve disputes, or contributed to group efforts over time. There is no day retail workers dread more than Black Friday. Last year, I worked a 12-hour manager shift at Hollister. The store from the outside looked like a club. So many customers were trying to get in that we had them form a line outside. Effective communication and motivation were key in contributing to group efforts. It was extremely important that I remain level-headed and that the rest of my associates did so as well, so that we could deliver the best guest experience. Though customers got impatient and yelled, I reassured my team in the quality work that they were doing to keep morale high and stress levels down. Being strategic and assertive was key to resolving unnecessary conflicts. With such a high volume of customers to serve, it was important I act attentively and maximize everyone's strengths. Not only did I assign everyone a role, but backup roles as well that catered to their skill sets. For example, multilingual associates were best placed at the registers to keep the line efficiently going. If one person had to go on break, then I was ready and prepared for backup to take over. Assertiveness was also important, so my associates comprehended goals and expectations. I used to be afraid of being bossy and not tell people if they were doing a task wrong, but I've learned to reclaim that word. As a female leader, I strive to be fair and receptive to criticism, but I also make sure my voice is heard and understood. We exceeded our sales plan by $40,000 that day, and my store ranked number 1 in our district. By focusing on team chemistry and bringing out the best in all of us, we were all able to win. I learned that where a boss aims to command, a leader aims to positively influence through empowerment. By showing effective listening skills, along with my ability to analyze situations, communicate, and strategize, my team was not just able to win, but win substantially. Out of all of the essay prompts, I think this one was the easiest one for me to write, because retail for a big part of my life was it. I've been in retail since I was 18. I've been in retail for over 5-6 years now. And I think that being a manager definitely exuded leadership experience. So it was really easy for me to write out what kind of skills I needed to lead the team and answer the prompt. But that's to say that for someone else who, isn't a manager, you don't need to have that kind of title to answer this question. You can even talk about leadership skills in terms of leading a group project. I don't think it's about the position necessarily. It's about, in whatever task, as menial as it is, how did you show leadership, and how well do you work with a group is what matters. So this next essay is probably the most personal that I've written out of the four. And the prompt says to describe the most significant challenge you have faced and the steps you've taken to overcome this challenge. How has this challenge affected your academic achievement? I almost gave up on college entirely last year. Financial aid has always been my biggest challenge while trying to pursue college. At 18, I became the only person to support my family of 5 when my father lost his job. My grades were so poor, I had to request that Towson University grant me a retroactive withdrawal for my spring 2014 semester. I moved to Los Angeles to continue my education after my parents divorced and moved back to the Philippines. I've attended 3 different colleges while working multiple concurrent jobs to sustain myself. Once I had secured a decent paying position as a store manager, I started to feel comfortable. The wake-up call was seeing my best friend graduate from university last year and pursue work in the field she loved. I was elated for her, yet frustrated with myself for settling with my job. Society had convinced me that I was too old and that it was too late to finish college, but I've learned that my journey is my own. After my parents moved, I didn't have any guidance to financially help me through college as a first-generation immigrant. I had no idea that I was able to claim independent student status. Being of low income and being an ethnic minority on campus, financial aid was actually able to help me significantly with covering school costs. For the first time, I was able to focus more on school instead of working. This made all the difference, helping me go from a 1.6 term GPA, my spring 2014 semester, to making the president's list during my spring 2019 semester with a 3.8 GPA. Returning as an older college student, I learned how to delay my gratifications. Instead of trying to graduate sooner, I took my time and really focused on learning, leading me to excel in the classes I'd withdrawn from. Through patience and perseverance, I've developed the discipline to never lose sight of my vision that has ensured my current academic success and will prepare me for future endeavors in higher education. For the last prompt, it says, what have you done to make your school or your community a better place? Antelope Valley College has the highest homelessness rate out of all the California community colleges. I've personally been at risk for signing into a homeless shelter or having to live in my car. That being said, homelessness is an issue that is particularly important to me. It's the issue I've prioritized and brought to light as I've taken on my current title as the Vice President of Community Service for Alpha Iota, my college's chapter for the California Community College Honor Society, Alpha Gamma Sigma. Last October, I single-handedly organized a successful clothing drive called Socktober that was geared toward taking in warm clothing from Antelope Valley College students. This included any sweaters, jackets, pants, hats, scarves, and socks. Being in the middle of the wide-open Mojave Desert, it gets bone-chillingly cold at night and the temperature can drop below 20 degrees. By the end of the month, I received over 50 large trash bag-sized donations worth of clothing, all donated to Grace Resources, a distinguished local nonprofit organization that helps redistribute the clothing to those in need. Beyond this, I've also partnered with Grace Resources so that students can volunteer and help serve hot meals an hour every Friday evening throughout November. We've been helping ever since and plan not just to continue volunteering in the spring semester, but the following years to come. All of this reinforces the idea that there is power in numbers. My vision soon became my club's vision, and soon enough became my community's vision. Homelessness is not just about hoping and wishing someone the best. It takes resources to address the issue so these people can get back on their feet. This is just a taste of what I can do in a tiny desert town like Lancaster. I plan to continue tackling the issue of homelessness and strive to reach even more people when I have more resources available at the university level. Through my community service projects, I have become more empathetic, organized, compassionate, and a better leader for not just my current community, but for future communities. So, in all of my essays, not just the last one that I read, you'll notice if you re-listen back that I always tie it back at the end of the essay to answering the prompt. When you start off with an anecdote or some sort of experience, there's a reason why you talked about what you said. So towards the end, you always want to reiterate in your essay, why you brought that story up in the first place or why you brought that experience up in the first place. You essentially want to tell the story. And it's really important that, again, you always tie it back into the prompt because it's really easy to get off track. The other thing I wanted to say was in regards to additional comments. So I said you have 350 words maximum, but there is a section in the UC application for you to include additional comments. So this is a great section for you to use if maybe you want to expand more on something with a detail in your essay, but you didn't have the space. So you can further reiterate or explain in said space in the additional comments. I think the limit here is 500 words. But it's not necessary for you to have the additional comments if you don't need it, because you don't want to be, repetitive. I say you only use the space if you absolutely need to. And in my case, I did, because there were other things I wanted to explain outside of my essays that couldn't be addressed anywhere else. So in my case, I had a lot of W's, especially towards the beginning of my college application or college education. So this is a great space for you to use to explain why you have a lot of W's, or if you're like me, if you took gap years away from school, you can explain there, why you took a gap year so that they have context as to, why you didn't just simply choose to not go to school. Like the reason is important so that it gives it nuance. I hope this video is helpful to someone out there. The main reason I made the video in the first place was because I didn't find as many people that I felt related to my exact experiences, not just with being a California community college transfer student, but being the fact that I'm older, non-traditional. I'm 25 now, and I've taken 3 separate gap years with going to 3 different colleges. I felt like it was important for me to share my experiences for someone else out there who's going through the same thing. I didn't have the highest GPA when I applied. The application's weird when it comes to how it calculates the overall GPA because I've been to 3 different schools. When I left AVC and graduated, I had a 3.4, but I think the UC application, due to its algorithm, calculated to like a 3.5 GPA, which is still good, but you can imagine how anxious I was applying. I remember my friends telling me how nervous they were and how they were like, I only have a 3.9 and I'm over here with a 3.5 GPA. So I say that to say that these essays really can make or break you. Even if it is just one component of your essay, it really adds character and explains yourself as a person more than just these numbers and these grades and GPAs on the paper. So even though I didn't necessarily have the highest or perfect GPA. I think my essays did a lot to describe the person and student that I am that I couldn't have otherwise described anywhere else. And I have to say that I think it made all the difference personally. I got into all of the UCs that I applied to, but I only got into like 2 of the Cal States that I applied to. I got into Cal State Dominguez Hills and Cal State LA, but I did not get into Cal State Long Beach or Cal State Northridge. So, yeah, it really is a weird process when it comes to the college process. And I definitely hope that if you have any questions or concerns, leave them in the comments. So you shoot me a message. I'm including my social media handles underneath in the description as well. So you can always reach out to me, because I definitely believe in helping other people and just giving my own advice for someone else to relate to, whoever is in the same situation or chairs I'm in. So I'm rambling, but thank you for watching this.